my son injured because of some mental case that thinks you can't restrain him.
I'm reacting to this video about autism, self-harming behavior today. So we're gonna watch this together. Why are we watching a documentary of a young man harming himself, his amazing family battling to keep him safe? We are going to watch this for several reasons. I want to watch this with you and comment on it because I admire these parents so much, and because this is the fear we all have when we have small children who are self-harming or have aggression or tantrums or rigidity, or they are eloping, they are putting themselves in danger. Our biggest fear is, okay, who's going to take care of my child when I die? We are afraid that this is going to continue and get worse, and often it will get worse if we don't know how to address the underlying reasons why children are self-harming or aggressive or having tantrums or other extreme behaviors. So I want to talk about it from that perspective, admiring these parents, looking at what it feels like when a child goes into adulthood and cannot say anything or voice the reason behind his frustration. It must be so incredibly painful. So I'm doing this from a perspective of love for these amazing people, individuals like my own son, and for the parents who care for them. And I'm trying to offer you a hand, like a helping hand, so that you might be able to deal with the root cause issues, and it won't get this extreme when your child grows up, so that you don't have to be afraid of actually dying, because who's then going to love this child and take care of this child? No one can, the way that these parents do. Look at this.
Is that a seizure?
Mm-hmm.
So now he's having a seizure.
You got it? Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Look at the sibling in the background. Sibling in the shadow. So I've got a couple of things to say about this.
See, he's self-restraining. Look at it.
So he's self-restraining during the seizure.
So now he's self-restraining? Good job, Jamie.
Look at the sibling again in the background.
Where's his iPod at?
So now she's talking about the iPad. Is it on? Do we lose the batteries? Because if the iPod is not available, we'll have another aggression. We'll have another self-harming behavior episode. So everything's about. So he's back into hurting himself. So everything becomes about avoiding disaster, or coping with disaster, or preventing disaster. So preventing or coping with disaster, or fearing the next episode. And you can see how she's so afraid of the iPod not being charged, because she knows that he's going to have another fit if it's not, or another attack if it's not charged. He's probably going to get into aggression again. And so we develop all these survival skills, and it's almost like being in a war zone. You're looking for enemies, you're looking for danger, you're constantly in fight and flight. You're in massive grief because the life that you planned on having with your family and your child is just disappearing. Your child is disappearing in front of your eyes. And I talk to moms every single month, and I know autism acceptance is a thing. I know we need to, and we do love our children exactly the way that they are, but we are grieving the pain that they go through. We are grieving the future that will eventually come and get them if we are not there to protect them. And so why does this happen? Why the rigidity? Why the nonverbal autism? And is this something we can do to prevent it before we even get pregnant? Or if we have an autistic child who's got milder symptoms even? Yes, I believe that there is and that we can. So speech, for example, is developed when there's enough nutrients on board to develop the brain and to develop cognitive skills as well. And undermethylation, if unaddressed, and most functional medicine practitioners honestly don't know how to address it. Most biomedical practitioners do it wrong and they think it's an MTHFR issue and they hand out supplements based on that. That's not the issue and that's not the case and it's not safe to do. Most kids get worse if that's the approach. But if it's left unattended, it can cause an exacerbation of these symptoms over the years, and a child who's now just having mood swings, doesn't speak, or is a bit aggressive, might have an adult life close to the life that we see this young man have. And if we want to prevent that, we need to understand what's going on behind the scenes. So we need to address and adjust methylation. We need to understand that speech is developed in a part of the brain called the cerebellum. And the cerebellum needs certain physical exercises and stimuli in early childhood years to develop normally, so that we can speak and retain information and focus and learn and develop social skills. But nonverbal autism has a neurological impairment underneath the surface that we need to address as well. And luckily, we can redevelop the brain at any age. So the earlier you begin that process, the better. So the cerebellum is understimulated, and sometimes it's because these children have genetic dispositions for that, but it can also be because the child hasn't crawled for long enough, hasn't creeped for long enough, has been in a baby walker or a baby jumper that actually impairs normal brain development. It can be indoor lifestyle in front of screens, because the brain needs physical stimulation from spinning and crawling and creeping and being on the ground, barefoot walking, the way that we used to live if we were in a forest or hunter-gatherers back in the day. That's the way that the brain would develop normally. So our lifestyle, the normal lifestyle that we live, is also part of the reason why we have extreme cases like this in adulthood. And those are some of the things that you can actually adjust in early childhood. Third thing you want to address is diet, and that's your diet before pregnancy, your diet during pregnancy, and lifestyle, and when the child is born. So toxins in the environment, beauty products in your body, hormone disruptive toxins and heavy metals, processed foods that are full of additives and actually fortified foods as well. Gluten, dairy, glutamates in food is a huge issue for these children and for them growing up early on, especially with undermethylation. There's an issue with this. But in general, the cleaner you can keep the diet, and I'm not talking vegan, I'm not at all for vegan diets for autism families, not at all, because undermethylation and vegan diets is the worst match possible. It will exacerbate symptoms as well. But clean meat, vegetables, fruits, unprocessed foods, good fatty acids, outdoor living, and sunlight exposure, being active outside, and limiting exposure to toxins in the water, in the environment, in beauty products, and in food. We have another fourth thing that I want to mention, and that is a pyrrole disorder and gut issues and nutrient deficiencies and nutrient overloads. So as an example, if there's too much copper on board in the body and you've got copper toxicity, aggression and anger is huge, and self-harming behavior as well. So you can have self-harming behavior or even eating disorders based on nutrient deficiencies or nutrient overloads. Some of the triggering nutrients when it comes to behavior: lack of zinc, lack of B6, for example, certain B vitamins can cause mental health expressions like behaviors that we've seen in this video. Lack of zinc and B6 can cause eating disorders and self-harming behavior and mental disorders as well. And overloads of certain nutrients like folate, methylfolate, and copper, and other issues with food that just accumulate. So too much of things can cause the same type of issues. That is why we need to look at autism in a completely different way. We need to look at it as a message about what's wrong in our lifestyle, in our environment, in our diets, and in the way that children develop in a modern world. We got to change the way we look at parenting, because parents deal with and cope with and are left alone with far too much responsibility, and siblings as well. When we get a diagnosis and when we have a child that's suffering like this, we are not getting the support that we need to address the underlying issues. And these parents are coping with situations that cannot be coped with. And it looks like they are dealing with it, and they are the most loving, beautiful family I've ever seen. I love them. I love them so much. I want to hug them. I want to give them a prize. But it doesn't have to get that far. It doesn't have to be that way. And there are things you can do to limit these attacks. Final point, the seizures. Like, look, I'm not a medical professional. I'm a journalist. I'm a mom of a recovered child, a child who's no longer got autism symptoms. They were completely turned around between 2004 and 2008. But I know that for seizures, it's also something that can be environmentally triggered, even down to with dogs and with children. If the fields have been sprayed with pesticides, the attacks, the seizures can actually, for epileptic people, get worse in that period. So there's clearly an environmental trigger. And there are things we can do with diet to improve it too. The ketogenic diet has shown to be really effective in individuals with seizures and epilepsy. Epilepsy, yeah, I think that's a word. So I just want you to know, if you have a child with autism that is young, start early. The best time to start is now, and it is never too late to redevelop the brain, change the environment, change the food. And sometimes when we are in this type of stress and coping with it, it becomes our life. We get so consumed by it that we can't even imagine who would we be without this state of survival. And that can be somewhat of a curse, because we can get so attached to the stimulating effects of dopamine and adrenaline. And I've seen parents get almost aggressive if you suggest that your child can get to a better place. And I can see in the comments with this family as well. This video is taken from Autism Mama. I think she reposted it from somebody else, so I don't know where it's from originally. But the mom says that they've tried everything and it's been tested for everything. And we got to be careful of not being dismissive or defensive when people who have actually turned symptoms like that around tell us, hey, there might be something you can do. It becomes our identity. And sometimes it becomes our identity to a point where we talk about autism pride and autism as acceptance, and where our children even adapt that attachment to the situation, to the label, to the diagnosis, and to the life that comes with it. But sometimes, and for some moms don't want to accept that, and they do want to do things about that is equally hard but leads to a different outcome. And these moms tend to get slaughtered by the moms who don't want to go down the change the environment, nutritional, diet, lifestyle pathway. But I see moms turn their children around every single day by doing that. So I just wanted to share this video with you and react to it and tell you that there is something you can do. And the earlier you do, the better the outcome. I want us to get every child to the best possible outcome and to as much independence as possible. If you want to talk to me about it, go to barefootautismwarriors.com, send me an email via the contacts, or sign up for one of my free guides to get started today. Just want to finish with a a scene with this mom. She is just incredible. I'm in love with her. Look at this precious mom. This is the love of an autism mom. Nothing like it. Nothing like it. Nothing deeper. Nothing more beautiful. In the craziest situations, in the most challenging times of life, you can always count on the mother's love to power through. And that is healing in itself.